Hello and thanks for joining us for our late night newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story tonight, South Korea and the United States are upping surveillance amid concerns North Korea is preparing for yet another large-scale provocation in the coming days. There's speculation the regime could test another nuclear bomb, but it could be something else, as North Korea on Saturday vowed to put more satellites into space, suggesting it might launch a long-range ballistic missile. Park Ji-won starts us off.
Satellite images show North Korea could be close to carrying out either a nuclear bomb test or a long-range ballistic missile launch. U.S.-based North Korea monitoring website 38 North says the latest satellite photos show signs of increased personnel and vehicle activity in multiple areas of North Korea's Punggye-ri nuclear test site. The website's analysts say such activities are either aimed at collecting data on the previous nuclear test conducted on September 9th or at preparing yet another test. South Korea-U.S. joint intelligence authorities are also reporting similar movements at the Seoul satellite launching station in the west of the country, raising concerns about a potential long-range missile launch. As North Korea will celebrate the 71st anniversary of the founding of its Workers' Party on Monday, South Korea and the U.S. are strengthening surveillance as Pyongyang has a track record of provocations on key anniversaries. As part of those efforts, Seoul and Washington have been flying reconnaissance missions near the inner Korean border using U.S. U-2 ultra-high altitude spy planes and South Korea's RC-800 and RF-16 jets. The so-called Joint STARS, or the EAC Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar System deployed at a U.S. military base in Okinawa, is also being used to monitor any suspicious activities. Meanwhile, North Korea's state-run newspaper, The Nodongshinmun, said Saturday that the regime will keep dedicating itself to exploring space, suggesting it will attempt to put more satellites into orbit, which requires the same technologies long-range ballistic missiles use. The report also stressed the North's nuclear armament remains the country's policy, vying to strengthen its nuclear capability for self-defense. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
South Korea's finance chief has forecast the South Korean economy could post growth in the 3% range next year. Finance Minister Yoo Il-ho made the remarks to reporters in Washington on Friday local time on the sidelines of the International Monetary Fund's annual meeting. He said Korea could post 2.8% growth this year and even higher growth in 2017, as exports are expected to pick up due to projections of better international trade conditions. However, Minister Yoo admitted a lot could hinge on what the Federal Reserve does with US interest rates. Korea's finance minister also held one-on-one talks with his British counterpart Philip Hammond on post-Brexit economic cooperation. The two vowed to closely cooperate on a free trade deal as Britain will start the process of leaving the EU by March. More than 870 people are now confirmed to have died in Haiti in the wake of Hurricane Matthew. The United Nations says 350,000 people are in need of assistance following the most powerful storm to hit the Caribbean in a decade. The Red Cross has launched an emergency appeal for those left homeless and helpless. With water supplies depleted in Haiti, there are fresh fears of a cholera epidemic among the tens of thousands without shelter. The storm has been downgraded now to a Category 1 as it passes over the Carolinas and Georgia in the US. It reportedly killed 6 people and left over 1 million without power in Florida. The Republican candidate for the U.S. presidency, Donald Trump, has apologized for vulgar comments he made about women that were recorded 11 years ago. In the 2005 recording, Trump is heard bragging about touching and trying to have sex with women. He said that, quote, "When you are a star, you can do anything," end quote. The remarks drew fire across the board and even from senior Republicans. The House Speaker Paul Ryan immediately withdrew an invitation for Trump to take part in an event on Saturday in which the two were due to share the same stage. In his videotaped apology Friday night, Trump said the remarks didn't reflect who he is. He also accused Hillary Clinton of bullying, attacking and shaming the victims of her husband's past sexual indiscretions. With exactly 1 month to go before Election Day, a Fox News poll gives Clinton a 2-point lead over Trump, 44% to 42%. Now, in yet another setback for strained US-Russia relations, the United States has officially blamed Russia for the hacking of computers of the Democratic National Committee and much more. The strongly worded statement by the Department of Homeland Security and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence also accused Moscow of trying to interfere with next month's presidential election. It said the alleged hacks of emails all have the earmarks of, quote, Russian-directed efforts, end quote. A senior White House official told Fox News that the US would respond, but any retaliation may not take place in the open. Russia's foreign ministry says the US accusations lack any proof and are an attempt by Washington to fan unprecedented anti-Russian hysteria. In the latest twist in a fierce patent war, a US federal appeals court has reinstated a $120 million jury award for Apple against Samsung. The US Court for Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington says there was substantial evidence for the jury verdict related to Samsung's infringement of Apple patents on its slide to unlock and autocorrect features. In an 8-3 decision, the judges said a previous panel of the same court should not have overturned the verdict made last February. The court said the 3-judge panel did not follow US Supreme Court limits on the scope of its review because it examined evidence outside the record of the case. Samsung and Apple have yet to comment on the ruling. Now, Chinese tourists are spending record amounts of money on trips both inside and outside of their country. New data from China's state-run media shows almost 600 million Chinese people have been on the move and have been spending tens of billions of dollars during the country's week-long National Day holiday, a peak season for domestic and international tourism. That's an increase of almost 13% from last year, as this year's holiday is a day longer than 2015. It also shows tourist spending during the holidays up more than 14% compared to the same period last year. A record 1.4 million Chinese travelled abroad over the holiday, with most of them coming here to Korea, followed by Japan and Russia. Now, an exhibition that highlights the evolution of art from the late Joseon dynasty to modern times is being held right now in Seoul. Artworks from Korea and abroad are being presented to portray the development of urban culture over the past couple of centuries. Kim Mok-yeon reports.
From Wednesday, the National Museum of Korea began its City in Art in the City exhibition, showcasing a wide range of artworks that spotlight life in the cities from the 18th century through the 1930s. The cities depicted in the massive paintings provide snapshots of urban landscapes and its people, reflecting aesthetic values and sensibilities of artists from those times.
Artworks also change as the city goes through urbanization. We try to portray how artworks evolved and how artists perceived these changes in the environment.
Works of Danwon Kim Hong-do and Haewon Shin Yun-bok, famous painters during the Joseon dynasty, are also being displayed. Visitors can compare the two painters' styles in expressing ordinary people's daily lives and the lives of the elite during the period. The self-portrait of Western-style artist Ko Hee-dong and Kim Ju-kyung's landscape against Mount Pugak reflects how the new products of civilization influenced the city and its artworks. Aside from these, more than 370 relics brought from 30 different organizations from home and abroad will be on display until November 23rd. Kim Mok-yeon, Arirang News.
Imsil County in Jeollabuk-do Province is very famous for its cheese here in Korea, and the cheese industry has played a huge role in helping people in that rather remote area make a good living. And that's all thanks to a Belgian Korean priest who made Korea's first cheese all the way back in the 1960s. Our Park Se-young has the details.
Over 50 years ago, when a priest from Belgium was appointed to serve the mountainous Imsil County, he was greeted by poverty. The region was decimated after the Korean War, and its only remaining assets were its lush, grassy hills.
The mountains had grass, so why not use it? I thought it would be good for raising goats.
The priest raised a pair of mountain goats and eventually started using the unsold milk to make cheese. But he didn't have much experience with cheese making, so he went back to Europe to learn. When he returned, he built caves in the stony mountains to ferment and store the cheese. Now, after half a century, the size of Imsil County's cheese industry has grown to over $18 million a year. On top of that, Korea's first cheese-making village has developed into a tourist destination with a theme park.
Last year, we were designated as a special zone for cheese production, so dairy businesses could make arrangements with farms to make tastier cheese.
The priest, who has become known as the father of the local cheese industry, became a Korean citizen earlier this year.
People in Belgium don't know Chijonghwan, but many people here know me, and I want to be here.
Last year, the county held the first Imsil Cheese Festival, drawing over 100,000 visitors for tastings and other events. This year's festival, which runs through Sunday, offers a new program of activities for visitors of all ages. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Finally, let's take a brief look at the weekend weather. And most of the country is under partly cloudy skies tonight. It is going to be very chilly, with the low dipping to just 5 degrees Celsius in Seoul. So you will certainly need a thick coat if you are heading out tonight. It will feel cooler than today on Sunday as well. The high is going to top out at 18 degrees Celsius in the Korean capital. With that, let's take a look at the weather in Korea and around the world. Well, those are the stories we have for you at this hour. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out the website arirang.com/news. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Goodbye.